Hello everybody, my name is Markus Stegmeier and this is the fourth part of the interview series Single Question with Dr. Vijay Shankar. Today I would like to talk about a topic which has been very important in my life and I think is also important in many people's lives. It's about death. In one of your articles I found an quote. I will read it. Life is endless, so time cannot have an ending. So my single question for today is, what does it mean to live a deathless life, and how is it possible to live it, as it could not be denied that the body will die someday?
Yes. How does one live a deathless life? Because body will die one day.
Yes.
I know this is a very perpetual, haunting question for every man. Death is a very poignant, very serious, very frightening thought to man. It is all right for man to take death as is on his stride when he's young, hale, and healthy. But when he confronts himself death, or his near and dear ones confront death, then any man gets shaken. It is understandable. It is understandable. Then every sense of spirituality or sense of wisdom goes outside the window. It requires a great degree of understanding to have cemented within oneself to deal with such a situation, if I could call it a situation that is death. I'm quite happy that you brought up this topic for today. I was wondering what your question would be, and I'm happy that it has addressed a very important question. Very, very important. A man may be wealthy, he may have all the comforts in his life, he may have all the money in his life, but the moment he confronts death, or the moment he is informed that he is ill and nobody knows what the illness is about, or the illness may lead to death, no richness, no money can ever come to save that man. Nothing will feel adequate for the rich man. It is the same for a knowledgeable man too. Both the rich and the knowledgeable, he may have all the wisdom in his world. He may have all the PhDs and degrees in the world. But the moment he confronts death, he is shaken. Not even a rich man is shaken, a knowledgeable man is shaken too. Even the soldier is shaken. He is shaken when he is asked to go to the battlefield, for he knows he may meet death. But the question to a soldier is quite different. The moment he is in the battlefield, he has no sense of it, he has no fear of it. Life moves so fast. Therefore, it's a different question to a soldier. Disappears for him the moment he is in the battlefield. But not so for a knowledgeable man or for a rich man. He is in everyday. In everyday life, he is not confronted with death. Whereas a soldier is confronted with the issue of death when the question of battlefield comes. A battlefield is not there every day in his training as a soldier. A battlefield suddenly appears. But when that battlefield appears, the surroundings are familiar and his training comes into force and he forgets death. That's the difference between a soldier, a knowledgeable man, and a rich man. What about the poor man? A poor man, because of his starvation and lack of food, He always confronts death. He will feel always, I will die if I do not have food. So he is used to the concept of death. You look at the very poor, they say, what to do? My poor is there, I may die. So he gets used to that situation of death, similar to a soldier. So a soldier and a poor man are a parable to each other. There are similarity. He is in his poverty, he forgets death because he is used to it. A soldier is in the battlefield, he forgets the concept of death. But nevertheless, the question of death frightens everybody. Those who are not in the situation, it frightens them temporarily and he forgets it. But those who are not in that situation of death, for a rich man or an intelligent man or knowledgeable man who doesn't confront death every day, he's okay with it, but he's not okay with it. Because once he's informed that death is impending, he is frightened. Now, how do we understand? How does man lead a deathless life when he's alive? How does he confront the concept of death? Because he is sure that the body will die one day. Okay? Now, yes. And the other point which you point out was, since life is beginless and endless, how can the body die? Or how could there be an end to the body? But man believes that there will be an end to the body one day. Now, the question I have to address it from various angles, Marcus. Okay?
Yes.
The first and foremost, to understand death and how to confront it, how to understand it, man needs to understand life is very precise. Precision is the hallmark of life. What I mean by precision is, every moment happens in life. A moment happens in life and man does not make that moment. Man cannot identify also when the moment happens. He believes in his mind there are many moments and many moments happen in life. No, many moments do not happen in life because man cannot see many moments in life. He can only think of time but not a moment. A moment is a word for man but not a period of time. No science, no world has ever discovered what time exists in a moment. Therefore, and also man cannot know what is the cutoff point between one moment and the next moment. He cannot identify any definite cutoff point. Like for in his mind, he'll know today is Monday, tomorrow is Tuesday, day after tomorrow is Wednesday, and so on and so forth. In his mind, he divides days. You follow me?
Yes.
Like that he divides. But even in any day, there's no definitive cutoff point between Monday and Tuesday. He creates a cutoff point in a 24 hours period scale. He knows a time 24 hours. He knows it is 12 a.m. now in the morning. Therefore he thinks 12 a.m. in the morning because the clock says so. He takes it as another day. But nevertheless, it is no definite cutoff point between one day and the next. You are with me so far?
Yes, I follow.
In the same manner, there is no cutoff point between 1 hour and the next. There is no cutoff point between 1 minute and the next. There is no definitive cutoff point between 1 second and the next. Similarly, there is no cutoff point between one moment and the next. Yes. Therefore, a moment is eternal, not multiple moments. Do you understand so far?
Yes.
And a moment is always ahead of the mind. It always is in front of the mind. It beats the mind. Before the mind can come into play, a moment is already there. When a mind comes into play, a moment is already there and the mind plays within the moment. Therefore, a mind is a play of sound in an eternal moment. And this play of sound is very precise, Marcus. I'm taking you very slowly so that you can understand it. How did this sound start in a moment? It started very precisely. In the life which is eternal, suddenly a sound started as a trickle. Even sound started as a trickle in life. Slowly and steadily, this sound increased in many minds in a trickle. And generally, and this sound also in a trickle slowly transformed us to words. Everything happening precisely, very precisely. Precision is the hallmark of life because evolution is precise, sophistication is precise. Both evolution and sophistication happen in every moment, meaning in a moment all the time. There's no one moment or the next moment or a third moment. That's in the mind. You follow?
Yes.
Good. So as sound started into words and the ego becomes stabilized and the words increase in man's mind, he started developing or accumulating words which depict reality to him. Every label became a reality to man, or as an evolutionary time and sophisticated time. Every label in man's mind became real to man. Every label is reality to him. Even a dream is real to him as being false. And waking state is real to him even though it is false. Follow me? Entire waking state is illusory and false, but it's real to him. Therefore, every label which is in his waking state becomes real to man. And the most important label in man's mind which is real to him is death. Death is a label which is very real to him. Why is it real to him? It's real to him because the man doesn't talk, the man doesn't move, the man doesn't do anything when he's dead. Understand me now? Therefore he thinks that's the end of man. But man doesn't understand that's the precision of the moment. Man will change and go. Man cannot be here forever. Nothing is here forever. What is there forever? Everything changes and goes precisely. Even man has to go. Great emperors go, great people go, great professors go, great wise people go, enlightened people go. So what of an ordinary man? What of any man? He doesn't die as death as an end. He just goes elsewhere in some other form. Just as how our sounds have changed and developed into words of language like German language, English language, Japanese, Chinese, all are sophisticated. They change and go. When sounds change as languages, actions change as sophisticated movements of the body, why not the body itself? The body too will change and come in a different sophisticated form. Man must understand sounds are sophisticated words. Actions are sophisticated movements. The body too sophisticates, entire body. Every generation the body will be sophisticating and going. And the way the body will sophisticate is for it to transform itself. And the way it will transform is called as death. Death is a process of transformation, just as our words are a process of transformation of different languages. Now you observe children, they talk differently. They are sophisticating in a different type of a language now. Therefore, everything is a form of transformation. Death is not an end. Death is a beginning of another sophisticated form. Death is not an end. Neither death is a beginning. Both the beginning and the death is in this endless and beginless life. Nobody can say where anything begins or where anything ends. Yes, they can say there something begins, something ends only as a label in the mind, not as an actuality in life. Nobody can pinpoint the markings of a beginning or the markings of an end for anything in life. Nobody can say when a word will begin. Nobody will say when an action can begin or end. Nobody can pinpoint the exact markings of a definitive beginning and a definitive end. For instance, nobody can pinpoint with any accuracy that when a baby after it borns, when it will start speaking. Nobody can pinpoint the exact moment. Nobody can determine when a baby will speak. Speaking suddenly happens to the baby. And the child, mother and parents think, oh, we taught the baby and the baby has learned. No. Baby has evolved, it is sophisticated over ions of time, and it will begin to speak as a process of evolution, as a process of sophistication, not as a process of teaching, not as a process of education, not as a process of upbringing, not as a process of culture, not as a process of development. It's a sophistication. Just as how a baby will start to speak, and nobody can determine when the baby will start to speak, nobody can determine when anyone will transform and go his way. Nobody. It can happen in multitude of ways, but it will happen when it's meant to happen. Once man realizes it will happen, it is a process of life, and it will happen when it's meant to happen, you become alert and aware to your own body. You'll be happy and contented. It is still moving. It is still moving. You will tell your husband or a wife, darling, it is still moving. One day it will not move. It will only not move. It will not move so that a movement may happen elsewhere. So all these are natural phenomena in life. Death is a natural phenomenon just as how birth is a natural phenomenon. Both these phenomena, the mind cannot bring it about. The mind cannot start it and the mind cannot end it. So death is neither beginless nor endless. It has been there in life as a transformation process. It has been there in life so that life may transform, sophisticate and progress. Many generations will come. Every generation is replaced by the next. And the replacement of one generation to the next generation is through a process called death. So man must understand death happens every moment because life happens every moment. Death happening means life sophisticates every moment. One day it has to go, meaning it has to transform and shape itself in another form. This crying and grief, all that in death is a phenomena of behavior, a social behavior. A wise man recognizes all that and he says, one death in the family, a grief is there, but a neighbor dies, there is no grief. So, grief happens to those who believe death should not happen. Grief never happens to him who recognizes and realizes it is happening all this time. So, any moment it will happen, and I cannot define the moment because the moment is always ahead of the mind. So, mind can never know when it will happen. And even when it happens, the mind is dead, it will never know that it's dead. Only the others know that it is dead. Therefore, your question marker says, death is timeless. Death is endless. Death is beginless. Nobody can say, identify when did the first death begin. Nobody can identify when did the first death end. No one. Even in the present day, nobody can determine with accuracy when did death happen. No. The exact moment, no. He can only identify a particular time. That's on the wristwatch or on the clock, on the wall. But that's not the time when man dies. When man dies, nobody can determine when he dies. And then pop, he's gone. Everything happens precisely. Death happens precisely. Birth happens precisely. Every word happens precisely. Every action happens precisely. Nobody does anything. Nobody speaks anything. Man does not speak. It happens to him. Man does not act. It happens to him. Man does not think. It happens to him. Precisely, precisely, and precise. Every word man speaks, I'll tell you. What does he speak? Does he speak a word or does he speak air? Air only comes out from his mouth. And the air that comes out from his mouth, nobody can determine when it will come out. For example, look at nature. Can you determine what will be the moment, what will be the content of air in any moment in nature? Can you tell me when a tornado will start? Can you tell me when a hurricane will start? Can you tell me what will be the velocity of air, a movement of air in any moment? You cannot. The movement of air in nature, every moment is different. Similarly, every moment air which comes out from man's mouth will be different. He cannot control that air. It will be different. Therefore, he cannot control the word which will come out as a transformation process of air. He cannot determine what word will come out from his mouth. So he can never blame anybody, never scold anybody, or never ask anybody how to speak. This is how you should speak. Yes, those are all labels in the mind which will tell. That too happens. You understand now? Therefore, every word happens, every action happens, every death too happens. And yet, does not happen. It happens as a label in the mind. You understand?